Welcome to another episode of the Chaotic Sports Podcast. This is the Chaos Daily version, the Daily Commute, where we talk about one or two quick subjects just in time for you to get to work. So today, we're going to put this out a little bit late. I'm actually on my way to work. And what I wanted to talk about was the World Cup. Basically, no one really cares about it this year, and then maybe even talk a little bit about Daniel Cormier's big win, follow up on the last Daily Commute. But first, before we do that, I just want to let you guys know you can find us at Chaotic Sports on Twitter. You can find me at Chris Sarda on Twitter. You can go to the website, chaoticsports.com, and we should be recording tomorrow. We will talk about the All-Star Game. We will talk about the World Cup final, which will be which we'll know who's playing in that tomorrow by the time we record. So today, so we're in the semifinals. We're down to 4 teams. It's actually an interesting mix of teams. It's England, who has been known to have some bad luck and some bad play in the World Cup. They're going to be playing Belgium, which is you'll hear me and Angel argue about this, but it was actually probably both of our dark horses to win the cup early on. We also, and then it's also going to be, and then you got France versus Croatia, and Croatia is playing very well, sort of a dark horse on their own, was able to beat Russia. I was going to say, like, oh, they had trouble with Russia being the 70th ranked team in the world at the start of the World Cup, but for some reason everyone had trouble with Russia. So I guess they had a real good home field advantage. It actually was working in their favor this year, but Croatia got through them. Croatia has looked really good, especially probably their signature win so far was against Argentina, beating Argentina 3-0. Although putting up 3 goals against Argentina is a big deal. What was a bigger deal was putting up the way their defense played against Argentina. So you have a nice set of 4. I'm not sure who I'm going for. The part of me just wants to see England and France in the final because they got a little rivalry between each other as far as countries go, and obviously, you know, basically a 1,000-year history of wars and taking each other over and political intrigue. It's fun to see that sort of take place on the soccer field with, by the way, a bunch of people that are an effect of both of their colonialism. Let's point that out too. So England versus France would be great. Then again, you know, I picked Belgium early on, was excited to see Belgium early on, and thought they were good, especially the way they performed last World Cup. So a lot of that team has really come together. So it'd be nice to see Belgium sneak through. A Belgium-France game is also very entertaining as far as their history together, and Belgium's sort of mix of languages and cultures. Some are a little bit closer to France, some much farther away, much more Dutch. So you got that. You got that going on. Probably the only team I don't want to see win is Croatia. Although, because of what happened to Stipe Miocic, who's really American, but, you know, Croatian immigrant parents, you sort of feel for Croatia that, oh man, that'd be nice if this little tiny country got to a final. It'd be sort of incredible, you know. But at the same time, it's not like England wins nonstop. And France has a good young team, just looked really bad didn't look great in the group stages, I should say. They don't look bad. They seem to be real good defensively. I don't see anyone really talking about that. They seem to shut teams down, and we'll see if that happens to Belgium. So let's just talk real quick about Daniel Cormier's record-setting performance, really career-capping performance. So in the fight, it was a good fight. Daniel Cormier was on the back foot. I think that he was not fighting according to his strategy, although he, you know, I could be wrong, but I think his plan was sort of to do what was halfway working against John Jones until it didn't, until he got caught and got knocked out, was to negate the reach advantage that Jon Jones had and that Stipe had by sort of staying in the pocket, but fighting very defensively. And I expected him to sort of do that, but Stipe was moving forward. Stipe was getting him with a couple good punches. Not that Cormier didn't have his own. In fact, Cormier probably had the harder when he sort of dizzied Stipe a little bit on that back foot. And then apparently, at least according to Cormier's interview at the end, they saw a big hole in Stipe's game where he would, in the clinch, he would leave himself open for, I believe it was that right hook, and that's exactly what happened. And you can see the hole when they're in the clinch. You can see it's a very clear big hole. And I think what Cormier was actually trying to do was recreate the sort of dirty boxing uppercuts he had against Gustafsson in their lightweight battle from a few years ago. But Stipe seemed like he was maybe a little bit too tall, a little bit too strong, so he wasn't able to plume him very well and get those uppercuts in. It looked to me like he was doing it, but maybe the whole time what he was trying to do was get in that clinch position that they ended up in the middle of the octagon. And then he hit him clean, and Stipe went down. And you feel for Stipe because he never really got the respect he deserved. Everyone, he probably would have got his big payday, although he's still making, $750,000 for that fight on paper, plus whatever pay-per-view points. So, he reassessed his contract right on time, because now he's basically, I think he's going to float. So he's going to worry about his daughter, and he's going to float for a little bit because he's not going to get an immediate rematch. Chances are he's not going to get this win back against Cormier, even if there's no belt on the line, because Cormier looks like he's probably going to get Lesnar in November, and then probably have one more fight, and then he's going to hang up the gloves, because he said on multiple occasions that 40 years old is a hard stop. No more fighting after his birthday, which I believe is in March. So we could get 2 more Cormier fights, and that's it. And one of them is definitely against Lesnar, and then who knows, maybe they strip him, maybe he relinquishes the lightweight title. That's all up for debate. So, there's 2 big things to talk about here. One is that Cormier is the second person to hold 2 titles at the same time. In a way, this is the way he beats Jon Jones. You can sort of give this narration. This is sort of what we wanted for Jon Jones. This is what we expected of Jon Jones, that he would just come in, clean out the lightweight division, and then go up to heavyweight, challenge the heavyweight champion, and then he should have been the first. He should have been before Conor. But he wasn't. He should have been the first person to hold 2 belts at the same time. And really, when he's healthy, he could have been, he could have easily, in my opinion, defended them both. Because when he's healthy or not being suspended, he actually is on a little bit of he actually was fighting pretty consistently. But, this is not the Jon Jones podcast, but of course he had all the out of octagon issues, and then had to, basically deal with a bunch of suspensions and stuff. So the only dumber person really is I guess he's not dumb, but is Nick Diaz losing his prime. He's lost his even more prime. So Jon Jones is right in the middle of that. So essentially what happens here is that you can say Cormier really beats Jon Jones because he's able to be in the octagon. He's able to stay healthy. He's able to do the things that Jon Jones was supposed to do, which is win 2 titles in 2 divisions and hold 2 belts at the same time. So now it's Cormier's legacy. Cormier's the man. Cormier's done what only Conor McGregor has done. And he may even get a step higher if he defends both belts, which Conor McGregor did not do. He just won them and walked off. So, people that don't like the trolls, even though they buy their pay-per-views, can now have something against Conor McGregor, we could say Cormier actually defends his belts and he wins. And could go down, definitely, I mean, he'll be in the argument for the greatest ever, I think. But there'll always be the one thing that you can say about Daniel Cormier, and that's the 2 decisive losses to Jon Jones. So that'll always hang over him. But, you know, Daniel Cormier just seems like a great guy. Seems like a competitor. One of these guys that are doing it, you know, all through his entire career, up until the end, up until being 40. And basically the only smudge on his record is that Jon Jones record. And then the last thing we'll talk about to close up that MMA sort of area is just, you know, it's silly. Brock Lesnar coming out, challenging for the title. Basically, the guy's been on steroids his whole life. He probably still is. He's got to get back in the testing pool. Does not deserve a title fight. You know, Curtis Blades deserves a title fight above Brock Lesnar. But it's a money fight. It's it's silly. The new UFC. I wanted to call it the new WWE. That's how it felt. You know, needs sort of a draw to get my grandmother interested, I guess. And it looks like it's going to be Brock Lesnar, who's coming back from his part-time wrestling gig, and it's going to be against Daniel Cormier. He looks twice the size, but Cormier's twice as skilled. So, you know, I'm not going to make fun of the fight. I'm going to watch it just like you are. I'm going to talk about it just like you're going to talk about it. And Cormier is going to get his little money fight before he retires, just like Bisping got his little money fight before he retired. The difference is that Cormier is probably going to beat the shit out of him. And even though that little WWE, you know, intro face-to-face in the octagon was really, really silly, you know, it is what it is. It's prize fighting. So anyway, that was the Chaos Daily for your morning commute. You can find us at Chaotic Sports on Twitter. You can find me at Chris Sarda on Twitter. Thank you for listening. And tomorrow we'll have probably some all-star coverage for baseball and talk about, the signings in the NBA and whatever's going on in football. Thank you for listening.